Hi, this is Mrs. Redneck, and today we're going to show you how to prepare coconut gar.
The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity.
Today we're going to be making coconut gar, and you might be thinking, gar? And I say yes. I'd like to give you something both for your heart and for your home today. And for your heart, I'd like to remind you that godliness with contentment is great gain. And we can make a variety of dishes with the fish that God provides, whether it's one we're familiar with or not. You can make this dish with a variety of firm white fishes, and you'll see how it's done, and then you can use what you have. One of the things I'm grateful for is that my husband cleans said fish. And he does have a video on how to clean gar, which can be challenging if you don't have the right tools. As I understand it, it involves tin snips, and it makes it a lot easier. So you might want to look that up. The fillets of the gar came off, again, to refer you back to the cleaning video, in a long strip, kind of reminiscent of a tenderloin. And that's very convenient for this particular dish. What I've done here is trimmed the two long fillets and then cut them into strips that are reminiscent of fish sticks, and or French toast sticks if you're not used to that. And this is going to be a convenient size for us. This recipe is similar to an appetizer that a number of restaurants serve called coconut shrimp, and so I've adapted it to that. If you have a favorite recipe, you might want to adjust the spices accordingly. Tonight I'm going to serve it with grilled fresh pineapple and cilantro lime rice, but that varies depending on the season. Another thing about this recipe is it's kind of like, there used to be a product in the store, I don't know if there still is, called shake and bake. And it was a method of coating chicken or pork chops or things with a spicy coating to cook. So I have this gallon bag here for convenience, and you can use a plastic container if you'd rather have a washable container. The ingredients we're going to use today involve a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, half of a 7-ounce package, so about 3.5 ounces of flaked coconut, 1 sleeve of Ritz type crackers, a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper, a teaspoon of fresh ground salt, and I'm going to throw in some smoked paprika for just a little kick and a little more flavor. What we're going to do is put the fish in the gallon bag to start. My hands were clean, by the way, you always want to start with washed hands. Now that hand's all dirty. We're going to pour in the 1/4 cup of oil. I'm not going to fry these. These are going to get baked in the oven, but the oil does allow both the coating to adhere, and then it helps it crisp up nicely in the oven cooking. All right, so I'm going to squish it around a little bit, and now that's not making my hand dirty because it's in the bag. I'm going to let that sit now in the oil while I prepare the rest of the coating, which will entail putting the rest of the ingredients that we just went over in a small food chopper, or you could crush it or chop it by hand and just combine them all. So we'll be back in a minute when that's ready. Okay, so I washed my hands, combined the breading ingredients in the food chopper, and so that's what it looks like all mixed together. I have my baking pan here, and I've started the oven to a heat of 400. I put about a capful of vegetable oil in the baking pan. I'm just going to spread that around. You'll see why we do that in just a minute. Then I'm going to go ahead and add all of this, even though we're going to end up with some excess, all of the breading into the bag with the coated fish. And you can seal the bag. And this is where the shaking part comes in. If you have any kids, get them involved. I'm turning it over and around. There'll be a chance to get the coating more evenly distributed after you do the shaking, but this is a nice start. As you do this, you'll end up noticing there's excess coating. Some of that is excess, some of it is not. And in fact, I'm going to take some of that extra coating that isn't sticking to the fish. I'm going to sprinkle it now on the bottom of the pan. And that'll provide a nice little barrier for the fish going in. And now you'll see that the individual pieces are pretty well coated. That was nice. It's not cooked yet, but it's pretty. I'm going to lay those in one at a time until we fill up the pan. We'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, here's the tray of prepared coconut fish sticks, gar, and I'm going to put it in the 400-degree oven. It'll take between 20 and 30 minutes to bake. After about 10 minutes, I'm going to flip these over with tongs and then add a little bit more of this breading on top. Any breading left after that should be discarded because it has touched the raw fish. But I'm going to save this just for a few minutes until I flip this fish and give it another little extra crunch coating. In the meantime, I will also be grilling the pineapple and finishing up the cilantro lime rice. All right, can you hear that sizzle? I ended up cooking this 15 minutes on the first side, and then using the tongs to turn them over, added a little bit more seasoning and some of the leftover, and cooked it for another 10, and it looks done. And then we have the cilantro rice and the grilled pineapple to go with it. Now, I had a couple more things to say. You could cook this on a sheet pan rather than a baking pan if you want to, and that would be fine. A firm fish that has some thickness to it is good for this dish. So I also make it with drum, and I make it with redfish, larger redfish. Not the kind of fish that you would want to cut into thin fillets. I guess you could come up with your own dish with a coconut coating for that, but for this particular dish, you want a fish that has some firmness that you can cut into these sort of stick-like shapes so it can hold the breading and be pleasant to the texture. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Lord, for this fish.
You say I am loved, but I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong, but I think I am weak. You say I am held, but I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours, and I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me.